Bye. My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Duck Dogs. My name is Josh Miller. I am your host for this show. And before we get going, let's be sure to thank our sponsors because, of course, this show doesn't happen without them. So thank you to Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020. That is the blend of food that I feed my personal dogs and the dogs at the kennel. And they are not only top tier performers, but they have better coats, better energy levels, better teeth, better everything all the way around. Really happy with that food. Eukanuba Premium Performance 3020 is what I feed. So thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your all-around premium clothing that I would highly recommend, not only as we come into hunting season, but everyday wear. Go check it out. I can't tell you too much about, actually can't tell you anything about it, except that I'm testing some awesome new everywhere clothing. So be sure to keep an eye out for it. Thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and large sizes. So no matter what size your 4-legged hunting partner is, you can rest assured that you're traveling the safest way possible. So go check them out, www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your 4-legged hunting partner. So www.gundogsupply.com. And of course, last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your online video-based guide to help you train your dog successfully at home. And I cannot tell you how many raving reviews we have of how this program is helping people not only get over road bumps or get through things they couldn't get through with other programs. It has really been a rewarding experience for me. So I hope that you join that community because it has been a fantastic one. So www.retrieverroadmap.com. So I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. I ended up working more than I wanted to, imagine that. But it was fairly low key. I'll tell you my favorite part of the weekend. So I know that we talk dogs, we talk hunting. Let's talk fishing a little bit just for like 2 seconds because this was a super fun weekend for me. So if you know anything about me, as far as fishing goes, love fly fishing and I love muskie fishing. And so we spent some time at the lake here this weekend, and I boated a few fish as far as muskies go. Now, if you're not a muskie fisherman, you have to understand and appreciate how much you can fish without actually getting to fish in the boats. When you boat a couple of fish in a day, it definitely feels very rewarding. My favorite fish of the weekend was it was early in the morning. It was like a hard overcast, but it had this like glare. And so here's what's difficult about that. So a lot of times these fish will follow the bait all the way to the boat. And then what we'll do is we do what we call figure 8. And so what that figure 8 is doing is it's changing speeds, changing direction. And what you're trying to do is entice the strike by the change of direction. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this particular morning, I had a big fish. I'm going to say, in the mid 40 range, more 40 inches, I should say. Mid 40 inch range fish fall to the boat. Now, the hard part about this morning was with that hard overcast, I really couldn't wear my sunglasses because it just darkened everything way too much. But then on the flip side, there was this glare, like this awkward glare that was off the surface of the water to make it where I really couldn't see in the water very well either. So earlier that morning, I brought this mid-40s fish right to the boat. Didn't know it was there until I went into my figure eight and I saw the big dorsal fin, come and follow that bait. Fish didn't eat, didn't have, any more action, but I marked where that fish was. My plan was to come back to it that morning to see if I could, get that fish to eat. And, so I fished probably 15 minutes later. I switched to a topwater. And the reason I went to a topwater is because I was throwing a bucktail before. I couldn't see in the water anyway. So maybe on topwater, I'll get a strike, or sometimes when those fish follow a topwater, you'll see that dorsal fin come out of the water. So again, low visibility, I could at least make a move or be educated that there was a fish on me. So I'm throwing this topwater and, bring it to the boat, go into and just start my figure eight. And again, big dorsal fin underneath, but is following underneath the bait. And so I went into my figure eight, put the bait in the water, flipped it around, started coming back to me towards the boat. Whoom! And big thrash. And, so I could tell right away it was a big fish. And now here's the tricky part, okay? So I've got a 9-foot rod. I've got a, what later was just a hair shy of 45-inch fish on. I'm trying to hold that fish and keep that fish under control with my left arm. With my right arm, I'm trying to hit my anchor button on the trolling motor and then reach and bend down to the ground to pick up my enormous net. And then once I have said net, try to control this fish enough that I can, with my left hand, so that in my right hand, I can go net this fish. It is much more difficult than it sounds, let me assure you. But I got that fish in the net. The whole thing was a matter of 30 seconds, but I was literally out of breath by the time I got that fish. That's what I love about this. The adrenaline spike is just like crazy, especially when you're by yourself. And got that fish in the boat, did a quick measurement, quick photo, put her back in the water. And there's just something about a fish that size. If you've never musky fished, I will actually invite anyone that's listening to this, if you're ever in my area and you ever want to get on the water, I'm always open to having people hop in the boat with me. I mean, I love this, and there's nothing more fun to me than when people hook into that first big fish, because it is a different caliber fish. If you're used to bass, you're used to walleye, you're used to panfish, all awesome. But this is just a different caliber. And so I would invite anyone, hit me up if you want to get out, because I freaking love it. I just absolutely love getting out there and doing that. So that was the highlight of my weekend. Loved it. I'll tell you what my low light was. And I'm going to get into this a little later here in this episode. My low light was I was getting text messages from a few people. Quick little side note. I've taken Facebook off my phone. I have taken Facebook off my computer. I don't go on it anymore. I keep Messenger because a lot of my friends from overseas, they don't want to have international texting plans, so they'll use Messenger or WhatsApp or something like that. So I keep Messenger. But, man, just like the negativity all the time. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So I just took it off my phone. I don't look at it. And it's a huge relief, a huge weight off my shoulders. I would highly encourage you to try that, because it has certainly helped me in my day to day. But I was getting text messages from people that were screenshotting just situations. Like there was this one little chocolate lab in Wisconsin that, the post said, "Please help us find our dog. She got scared with the fireworks last night, ran off." And there were a number of them like that. I think I got 6 or 7 messages over the weekend with stuff like that. And it just irritates me to no end, because it's like, that's not, and of course they're all young dogs, right? That's not the dog's fault. Like, what are you doing taking a young dog to fireworks? It's so frustrating. I'll never understand that part of it. But it's a low light to me, because my heart breaks for, as much as it's their fault, my heart does break for the family, because oftentimes you have kids, you have other family members involved that wasn't their fault, and they, of course, they have to suffer. But the dog, man, like, What happens to the dog? Like, what happens? All because they were put in a no-win situation. They were set up to fail. Should be the exact opposite we're doing. And this week, I can't tell you how many calls yet, but I'd be willing to bet. So today is July 5th. Yeah, 4th was yesterday. July 5th. You'd be astonished if you sat in the office for the next 10 days, 2 weeks, and the number of phone calls we get on firework related noise issues. It's really, really bad. And for those people that are overseas, because we actually have a very significant international audience on this show. So the 4th of July is our Independence Day. Tons of fireworks is kind of the culture here. I took some firework videos and sent them to some of my friends overseas. Like, oh my gosh, like you guys really do party over there for this. And yes, it is kind of a big party. But it is definitely a part of the culture here is the fireworks. And so you can imagine the big ba-boom and the big lights and how overwhelming that can be for a young dog, especially one that's not gun broken. But even if your dog is gun broken, it doesn't mean, fireworks are so different than gunshots. So it's really, really, really something to consider. I'm going to dig into that a little more here later on because we had a dog come in that I think would be interesting to talk through my game plan of how I'm going to approach this, because this is going to take some serious feathering into this to make this successful. But before we get into it, let me go over something that I think is really, really interesting. And I really want to share this because this was something that I feel like was it was a thinker moment for me. Okay, so I'm pulling up my phone right now because I actually wrote this down. I got a phone call. This would have been last week. I got a phone call from someone that is a listener on the show. I didn't ask if I could use this story, so I'm not going to say his name, but had a very interesting conversation. So this individual was calling about just a hurdle that he was having with his dog, was hoping I could help him, give him some ideas of how to get over said hurdle, and had a really good conversation. What is so interesting to me is how often people will identify their own problems as they kind of try to describe to me what is going on. And this was one of those situations of, told me what was going on. He's like, oh, this. And he's like, do you think this could be the problem? I'm like, yeah, I do think so. It's sometimes you just need someone to bounce this stuff off of, and I'm happy to be that. But after this conversation, he identified something I thought was super interesting to me. And he said, Josh, you've talked a lot on the podcast about being a perfectionist and striving for perfection and being OCD, on a certain number of things. And he's like, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to disagree with you. Now, remember, this person had no idea who I am. We've never met. We've had a 25-minute phone call, and that's the extent of what we know each other. And he said, Josh, you are not a perfectionist. And I was like, huh. And again, I don't know this person, so I'm like, all right then, well, what am I? And what he followed it up with, which again, I think is super interesting. He said, the reason that you are not a perfectionist is that perfectionists won't try new things. Okay, you talk about how you're getting into roping, something very, very difficult, and you're trying to, get proficient at this, trying to get good at this, right? Very difficult thing to do. Most perfectionists wouldn't even attempt it because they know they're not going to be perfect with it. Golfing is historically a game that you are going to go struggle with, and you can go shoot a great round, but then your next round could be terrible. Your next round could be even worse, and then you shoot a great round again. Like, you are not going to be a perfect golfer. And it was so interesting to me. And another point he had that I had written down here was, perfectionists won't try new things. They are so scared of not being perfect that they don't put themselves in a position to fail. You need failure in life. That's really how I look at this. I want to get into that here a little bit. But think about that. So if you're a perfectionist, and I've had a number of people on the show reach out to me and go, I'm a perfectionist too. I strive for perfection. I want to be perfect. Think about that though. With our dogs, we will never be perfect. We talked about that on the last episode, I think it was, maybe the episode before. We'll never be perfect. So you're not a perfectionist when it comes to your dog. You're probably not a perfectionist as this individual pointed out to me. And so, of course, my counterpoint was, okay, so what am I then? And he said, you are what would be called a high-level self-motivator. You're self-motivating. You push yourself to be better. You always want to level up. You want to take that next step, but you put yourself in vulnerable situations that you may not succeed in. And I'm telling you, this really stuck with me. I thought about this a lot this weekend. And here's what I came to. When I really started to dig into this and I started going, okay, if I'm not a perfectionist, what are all the things that I have failed at? That I have intentionally put myself in situations that I knew I could fail. And guys and gals, I'm here to tell you, as I sat down and actually reflected on it, I have put myself in a lot of situations and quite frankly have failed in a lot of situations. I started thinking about these situations, whether they were, dogs or with clients or business or, you can just go right down the list. Like, what have I failed at? But here's what was so interesting about this to me. Failure, when I look at all those failures that I identified of where I failed and where I put myself in a situation, I learned more from failure than I had with any of my successes. So I started looking at that, and I'm looking at like the dogs that were easy. The dogs that were easy never taught me much of anything. The dogs that were difficult, the dogs that made me pull my hair out, the dogs that made me stressed out because am I going to make this owner upset or unhappy? Pushing and getting to have to be creative and have to elevate to get this dog to a point, those are the dogs that taught me things. Those were the dogs that taught me something that I could go forward with and implement for my training. Made me a better trainer, maybe made me a better handler. Those were the dogs. They weren't the dogs that went through everything perfect. And I think that this is an awesome thing for us to sit and appreciate, because what I'm finding is as we get closer to hunting season, this is every year, guys, I find this every year, as we get closer to hunting season, our stress level goes up. We start going, oh my gosh, I only have X amount of days to get done. We start pushing and we start getting super frustrated about little situations, little things that come up that really aren't a major deal. We start stressing over and we start going, oh my gosh, this isn't perfect. Right? Like I just asked someone just recently through Retriever Roadmap. He's like, man, my dog's really struggling, marking, and I'm trying to find how we can get better. I'm like, okay, so what defines struggle? Like, you mean he's not stepping on the mark every time? Like, well, he might get within like 3-5 yards of it, but like I want him stepping on it every time. Like, you are not going to get a dog that steps on every mark every time. Period. Just not going to happen. Like, that is a win. Your dog gets within 5 yards of where that bird went down on a consistent basis. That's a win. Your dog's likely going to pick up that bird every single time. Don't be perfect. That's a win. Celebrate it. We need to have failure in life. This is such an interesting topic to me because this is the topic nobody wants to talk about. This is the topic we want to avoid. And this is, again, I get it. I've been on this perfection kick. I've been on this like, hey, let's use our failures to make us better kick. I get it. It's probably boring to listen to. It's probably frustrating, but it has helped me tremendously over the last few weeks, because it's helping me help people. If you can buy into that and you can fully understand that you are not going to be perfect, that your dog is not going to be perfect, it is going to help you. Be a high-level motivator, not a perfectionist. That was so interesting to me. I don't know why, but that really, really made me think. High level motivator. High level self motivator. It was really, really neat. So thank you. I really want to say your name, but I'm not going to because I didn't ask. So thank you for that. You know who you are. Really, really made me think, and I really had some good reflection time off that. So I appreciate that. So let's talk about noise shyness. The reason I say noise shyness is because it isn't simply gun shyness. So we call it gun shyness because we have gun dogs. But noise shyness is something completely the same. It is not different, oftentimes not different. But let's talk about that, because you can have dogs that are not great with the fireworks, are not great with the nail gun popping off, but guns are totally fine with. You can have that for sure. But let's not gamble on that, right? So I just had a dog come in today for a bird and gun introduction. This is a young dog. And as I ask everybody after the 4th of July weekend that comes in for this class, and I'll probably ask this question every time as we go forward for the next couple months for sure. Did we have any issues with noise over the weekend? Over the 4th, was there any noise issues? Most everybody said no. But one, I really, really appreciate this person being honest with me, because it's so much better when people are honest with me. But he said, yeah, we had one mishap that was really unfortunate, which is we were outside. We didn't know the neighbor was going to light off a big booming firework. It went off, and he sprinted back to the cabin as fast as he could and hid by the front door. That's example one. Okay, I have a second one. Okay, so we know we have to handle this delicately. Number two, very similar situation, except that this person had the dog out with them to watch the fireworks. Little frustrating. Why? Why? The dog doesn't have to be there. But dog was out. He said for the first little bit, the dog was fine. And then there was just one that freaked him out, and he took off, ran under the trucks. They had to entice him and reach him and pull him out. And then, this is just kind of genius, right? And then the next day, they took out some shotguns and shot around him to see if he was affected. Are you kidding me? Really? This dog hasn't been introduced to gunfire yet. So I'm sure you all are so envious of the situation that I have for the next few weeks trying to get these dogs over this. But let me kind of talk through my method of operations as I do this. So we now need to take a fear, in this case noise, not only flip them around to where it's okay, not a fear, but okay, I'll accept it, to ultimately flip it to where it's something that I love and adore and want to be around. That is a mental task, getting inside that dog's head to get that done. It is super interesting. So take anything that you were scared of, because that's what these dogs are. They're scared of this noise. For my wife, this would be snakes. Probably would be snakes for me too, but I feel like I could get over snakes. My wife can't. My wife hates snakes in the worst way. So it would be like taking my wife and saying, hey, you hate snakes, but first we need to get you to the point that you're comfortable around them. You just have to accept that they're going to be here. And then once we get that done, then we need to take another step to where you love them. You want to hold them. You want to have them around your neck. You want to have them in your lap. You want to feed them. You want to. And if my wife was sitting right here, she'd be like, yeah, freaking right. There's no way. But that's what we have to do with these dogs. When you start putting it into perspective like that, okay, Now, your argument could be, well, at the end of the day, if the dog loves birds, he's going to understand that the gunshot means birds. Well, if you told Whitney that every time she held a snake, you handed her a $100 bill, I promise you, she wouldn't care. There's still no way that she's putting a snake anywhere near her. So how do we do this? Because this is something that you could be in a situation yourself, or you could know someone in this situation. Okay. So here's how we handle it generally speaking. Generally speaking, the first and foremost priority is build a relationship with the dogs when they come in. This is so crucially important because we are going to have these dogs trust us. So we do this with all the dogs. But with these dogs that have fears, we need to take this up to a whole nother level. We need to become this dog's best friend. We are the person this dog trusts. If we, walk through a brick wall, he'd walk right there with us because he trusts us that much. Think about how difficult that is. You have a dog detaching from the family, coming into a kennel environment, new people, new place, mom and dad gone, other dogs all over the place. There's a lot going on. So we need to step in and be this dog's best friend. As you can imagine, this doesn't take 2-3 days to get done, but you're on a timeline. You got to do this as fast as you can. So we spend a bunch of time trying to get in this dog's head of, hey, we are good. You need to trust us. Then once we reach that, we're going to go birds, 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 birds. We want the birds to be the absolute epitome of when this dog comes out every day. He thinks that this is the absolute best thing, the best place in the world, the best thing in the world to be doing. Love, 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 love. Now, if you have a dog that has solid, very good genetics, in this case, it's almost too bad. It's not too bad because I would hate that it would be this way. It's almost too bad that these dogs are not from us, as far as puppies from us, because then at least I would know for a fact that these dogs had the drive. Okay. I don't know for a fact of these two dogs, but we need to pump that up. Now, if these dogs tend up having extreme drive, extreme bird drive, now all of a sudden our job just got a lot easier. Okay. But if they don't, what we're likely going to do is we're likely going to have to move that much slower. So let's just use the fact of they have the drive. The other option, because this is a real thing to talk about, if the other option is these dogs do not have the drive, the scenario might be that they're just not going to make it as a gun dog. And that is something that is a real thing that we have to talk to with clients when they get in some of these pickles, right? But some of this stuff is just the dog. Like, you can't change the dog. That's why it's so important to do your homework and get with the right breeder and get with the right puppy and get with the right lines and get the right dog first. So important. So anyway, gun shy dog, noise shy dog, gun had nothing to do with it. Noise shy dog. We build a relationship. We're bird crazy. Now what do we do? And here's the important step that oftentimes gets, in my opinion, missed and mishandled the right way. In this situation, more times than not, what would happen is we've got a huge retrieve drive or a huge bird drive. Go, 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 go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a clip-wing bird or a dead bird that we're throwing in front of you, and we're going to start shooting in the background, moving into you. Here's a problem with that. Again, you have a dog that already doesn't like noise. We know that for a fact. Now, when that dog is going at that bird, he's going to hear consistently the thing he doesn't like. And now we could have an associated bird shyness, meaning he looks at a bird, he thinks the uncomfortable thing is going to happen, so all of a sudden he backs off his bird drive. This is a real thing, you guys. We've seen this a lot. So what do? We back it off. We make it to where it is just the guns, and we reward them for getting over that gun. So that might be treats. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to have the dog come to the noise. So if it is a bird situation and I have a bird in my pouch, I show them the bird. Good, good, good. Walk away. They can't see the bird. I call them to me. I start with poppers, which just sound like just the primers. Okay. No boom, no big percussion, right? But I go, I'm just going to use a name. Neither one of these dogs are named this, but Duke, come, good boy, come. And he's running to me. Good job, good boy, good. And I'm watching his reaction, right? So I'm looking for, is there anything does he duck his head? Does he twitch his body? No, he came all the way to me confidently. Good. Praise him. Take that bird out, give him a throw. That clip wing goes, falls down, gets it. Great thing. Hoorah, big reward. Everybody's happy. We do this over and over and over again. And the idea is that he starts thinking at the end of this rainbow, which is him running to me, his pot of gold is there. And then we're going to work our way up. We're going to go 410. We're going to go 20. We're going to go 12. And this is how we're trying to switch the narrative in his mind. Now, I hear that shot. I want to go to it because I know that my reward is there. Now, some of you waterfall guys, I know this is duck dog. Some of you waterfall guys might go, gosh, I need my dog to be steady. I don't want my dog running towards the noises or running at the noise or when there's noise, running. I get it. But a lot of times in training, it's amazing how often this happens to where in order to fix a problem, you oftentimes need to create another. In this situation, it doesn't matter if the dog is steady if he hates guns or if he hates noises. We need to get him over that first. Loosen the screws up. Go. Once we get over this, okay, now let's back it off. Yeah, we may have some braking issues that we have to overcome and we have to fix and we have to tighten up, but if he doesn't love the noises, he's never going to be a gun dog. This is an incredibly frustrating thing for us at the kennel, but we've been successful enough on this thing that's also very rewarding to get over. It really is. It's a rewarding thing to get over, and it's a rewarding thing to come through and come out the other side. Now, I do wish in these situations that the owner would be there with us as we go through the process, because I promise neither one of these is going to be flawless. And so if you were to see and watch firsthand the issues, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, why this was so frustrating, watch us overcome some of this stuff, watch the dog be fearful, watch how I think it'd be appreciated a lot more. And we can't discredit the fact that there's a good chance that neither one of these dogs can get over this. Now look at that. These two individuals have dogs that, knock on wood, hoping that the next 8 to 12 years they are hunting partners that may have been ruined with one decision. It's just not worth it. Going back to it, think about those dogs that may never be found after running. It's not worth it. The dogs don't have to go everywhere with us, you guys. I adore our dogs. Love our dogs. Our dogs hunt all the time. We train all the time. None of them watch fireworks with us. Because what's the win? There is no win there. It absolutely breaks my heart to hear that. But, unfortunately, nothing I can do about it. All that I can do is I can pin my ears back. We're going to get over these two. These are the fun projects for me. They'll be frustrating for sure, but I love embracing it. I love getting over these things. It is a fun thing for me. Not perfectionist, high performing self-motivator. Think about that. And here's my challenge to you this week. Think about failures. Think about the failures you've had in your life, in your business, in your career, in your school, and in your dogs. And what is so interesting, when you dial into your dog side of things, I think you're going to find that when you failed with your dog, you learned more about your dog than with all your wins combined. Don't get down. Don't check out. Don't get frustrated. Embrace failing. You need to fail. It's part of the process, guys. Enjoy the journey, not the result. Go have a great week. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.